Hello there, a very good afternoon and welcome to this live discussion. I'm your host, Eddie Lade, and of course I have joining me this afternoon via Zoom, Bishop Juan Edgil. Bishop Edgil, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
A very good afternoon, Eddie. And let me say good evening and good afternoon to all of your viewers and listeners wherever they're located. It's a pleasure to join you this afternoon.
I think by now all of Guyana would have known that the recount of votes cast in the March 2nd elections has been complete. The tabulation has been complete, and it is clear that there will be a change of government as soon as a final declaration is made. As is known generally, whenever there is a change of government, there are certain activities of the outgoing government that are certain restrictions on an outgoing government. Bishop Edgil, if you can give us at least some history to this which will put our discussions in context as we go forward, maybe for the next hour or so.
Well, let me begin, Eddie, by first offering my public congratulations to Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, who, based upon all of the figures and the numbers that have been declared and certified as of this afternoon, when Region 4 was certified, would be our next president in Guyana. Allow me to offer to him my best wishes for his good success, and we look forward to being a team that will serve Guyana for all Guyanese. Secondly, allow me to say thanks to all the good people of Guyana. I would want to say over the last 34 days, today 35 days, there have been some people who have done exceptionally well. Many of the professional staff at GCOM, the Guyana Police Force, the various party agents, the media, who have really helped Guyanese to get a good grasp of what is taking place and ensure that sanity continues to prevail in our country. To all the God-fearing and praying people of Guyana, thank you for all of your prayers and your good thoughts. That today we're in a Guyana, which I think we're on a good path to get these matters resolved and for us to get a new government installed. Having said that, I participated in 2015 when there was a transition from the PPPC to the APNU+AFC. And one of the things that you would expect is that from election day, from the time you go to an election day, a government is expected to behave in a responsible way and a responsible manner. You're expecting the results of an election, and there are things that you don't do during that period. For example, you do not enter into new contracts. You do not commit the government financially. You do not engage people in arrangements that are long-term because you don't know who will be the next government. You are waiting for the declaration of an election. Now, when a declaration is known and the results are known, you prepare to hand over to the next government. And in 2015, Dr. Roger Luncheon, who was then head of the Presidential Secretariat, led a team that had Madam Gail Teixeira, Ms. Priyamani Chan, and yours truly, who sat with Joseph Harmon and a long team of people from the APNU+AFC, and we graciously handed over government to them, explaining all of the various details, the matters we were dealing with in various ministries and aspects of government, so that you could have continuity of government. One of the things that you don't do is put the incoming government in a position where they are saddled with things that are difficult to change. For example, you don't be coming out of government and you name new state boards. You do not go and sign new contracts for political appointees. For example, if somebody was your technical or political assistant and you are coming out of office, you don't go and sign a new contract renewing their contract for the next 3 years or the next 4 years, knowing that you will not be there. You do not renew the contracts of political appointees, whether in the Ministry of the President or in any other ministry or any other agency. Once it's a political appointment, public servants, people who have security of tenure, whose appointment have come through the public service, that's a matter that is separate and different from political appointees. But Eddie, while we are talking about this, I am concerned that we have become aware that even as of today, while we are speaking this day, Tuesday, ministers of the government were pressuring public servants and were also seeking to engage in actions which could really, really put the incoming government in a very difficult position. For example, if you go and you renew the contract of people as of today's date, when the new ministers get into that ministry and a new government gets into office, they must be able to have a free hand to determine who they will want as their executive assistant, who they will want as their technical advisors, who they will want to head various agencies that they will have the charge over, whether it's the chairman of a board and all the rest of it. But this government haven't recognized that their narrative of lies and deceit have caught up with them, and they'll be soon out of office. They are seeking to create a landscape where they will burden the new administration with political appointees, and it will be a very difficult task to remove them. And if you remove them, will have serious financial implications on the Treasury, because some of these contracts that they're entering into, in order for you to break that contract, there will be serious financial costs attached to this. So it's like giving their own people a golden handshake before they leave, because if they don't want you when they come, based upon this clause in the contract, they have to pay you when it's 6 months of your salary or a year of your salary, and all of these things that they are doing. So it's very difficult. You do not go sign new loans and new agreements and get new contracts signed for projects that the new government have to determine if they want that as a priority. And the recklessness of this administration, even up to today's date, 3 o'clock this afternoon, the results for District 4 of the elections were certified. It clearly shows that Mingo committed a fraud where he denied the PPPC of in excess of 3,000 votes and added to the APNU+AFC 19,000 plus votes. They know they have lost the elections. They know they have to leave office. They know that the Ghana Elections Commission has no choice but to look at those numbers and make a declaration. But they are doing things that are setting a landscape, like I said, to create a burden on the new administration, which is coming in very shortly. So I thought I would just say that in response to your initial question.
Bishop, you spoke about instances of the new appointments and so on. Could you say if you have information, if the party have any sort of information with regards to these appointments taking place, even as we're about to see a transition in government?
Well, this is the worrying thing, Eddie. Like I said, as of today, the APNU+AFC's administration, through the various ministers, in contracts be renewed. Persons who they handpick as political appointees and place them in very strategic places for the purposes of their administration. They are coming out of office. And today, a date in June, when you had an election since the 2nd of March, they are renewing people's contract so that when the new ministers go in, you're going in there to meet these people with contracts that are signed. And the only way that you could break those contracts is you'll have to use the law. And the clauses in those contracts will put the new administration in a position where it will have serious financial difficulties. So we are aware that as of today, they were doing that.
Bishop, if I can take you back, I think, to just after the no confidence motion, you've had issues that you would have spoken about where an instance, for example, is the adjustment of the threshold for the ministerial and single sourcing and quotation of goods and services, the procurement of those services. It goes back to then. If you can probably, just for information, say, chronicle some of those instances leading up from after the no confidence motion right up to the elections.
Well, Eddie, you're actually asking me to go into the deep history, because this APNU+AFC defeated administration has been the most reckless group of people that have ever been assembled to govern a country anywhere in the Commonwealth or in the English-speaking Caribbean, or I will even dare say any part of the world. This is a reckless bunch of people. For example, we had the no confidence motion 21st of December 2018. January 2019, there was a new regime of thresholds as it relates to the award of contracts, both for goods and for services. That basically things that would have had to go to the tender board, the central tender board for award, was now being dealt with at the ministerial level and was allowing for small contracts to be awarded, and which I should rephrase that. The ministerial tender board was designed to allow for contracts up to a certain ceiling to be awarded. Contracts of 15 million and above in an era of yesteryear had to go to the central tender board because that's a significant commitment of taxpayers' money. What they did was to facilitate the increasing of the threshold. So, for example, in the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Minister Patterson, a political operative, could sit in his ministry and award contracts for 10 million, 12 million, 14 million to do a road, to fix a street. Of course, all of these awards were for the purpose of satisfying political ends and playing up to their constituency. It was not issues that had to do with what was programmed and budgeted. And that happened throughout the government service. So monies were being spent. People were being called because the principle of sole sourcing and the amount of money that could be awarded during sole sourcing was all changed by way of regulations. And I will dare say all of that was changed while there was no functioning parliament, because a regulation, once it is made, has to be laid in the parliament and it is subject to negative resolution. The fact that there was no functioning parliament because of a no confidence motion that was successfully passed made all of that an illegality, and they continued. So you could recall, we saw the signing of an almost $1 billion contract for the building of a school at, I think it was Yarracabra on the Linden-Soostijk Highway. And that happened in January of after the passage of the no confidence motion. Then we had big contract awards in Essequibo, and that came to the public fore. Besides all of that, they went on to renew state boards. while you are facing an election, while you have been fallen and defeated by way of a no confidence motion, you behave in a manner that you are now a caretaker until you get your mandate renewed. This government that has now lost an election, they have lost the no confidence motion, they have lost the election, they have since been embarrassed by way of the numbers coming out of the recount. And today, rather than say, all right, we have behaved recklessly, we have behaved irresponsibly, we have acted illegally, we have acted outside of the norm of good governance and the rule of law, let us prepare to leave office. Up to today's date, they are continuing with this vulgarity and this recklessness. And that is why it must be exposed tonight, because people must be aware. And Eddie, let me put all those who got contracts signed today and yesterday and last week, let me put all of them on notice. You should have known that you should not be signing no contract with a defeated government, with a government that is not properly in place and are caretakers. And you will have to face the consequences and you will have to face the music. Because while they're trying to give you a golden handshake by putting you in a position where the new government will be saddled with you and they will have to pay you huge sums to get rid of you, you cannot be guaranteed that that will happen. Because when the new administration comes in, we will act properly. And like we said, everything that was awarded after the no confidence motion, and more particularly after Parliament was dissolved and we were now in an election mode, and more so after March 2nd, when you had an election and people are still getting lands awarded to them, contracts awarded, and now people are being re-employed by way of employment contracts, which are putting us in a very difficult position. All of those persons need to be put on notice, because that's not the way a government operates. That's not the way democracies operate. And Eddie, let me just say this in passing. This morning, we all woke up to the news that there's a new vice chancellor at the University of Guyana. Strange, but we woke up to that news, and that's the reality. In this context of an administration being voted out and a new administration coming in, permanent secretaries, heads of budget agencies, people who are appointed as a result of the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, need to take notice that you act in a certain way, because you are awaiting a new political directorate who will set new priorities, who will have a specific agenda and will give new policy directions. And to act contrary to that will have serious consequences. And that's the reality. So whoever is getting involved in that, and whoever are the beneficiaries of such skullduggery, I would call it, because that is what it is, skullduggery. Whoever are the beneficiaries of such skullduggery, you're going to have sleepless nights starting tonight, because you are hearing from the PPPC by way of this program. Don't believe that you're going to walk away and smile and say, well, I have a legal contract, I have a legal document, and they will have to come good and talk to me. You know fully well you should not have been going in that direction, and you will have to face the consequences for your actions.
Bishop, you spoke about issues of contracts, whether individual employment contracts, contracts for works, and we know what is happening with the Ocean View Hotel being converted to a hospital. I understand maybe over $1 billion spent there of public monies. But let us also talk about the spending. We understand that ministries maybe under political directions are still spending large sums of monies wantonly, even though there has been an elections. The nation knows the results of the elections. They're just awaiting the official announcement.
Well, information reaching us suggests that contracts are still being awarded and people are procuring and buying at prices that are unbelievable. So there is no competitive process in the spending that is taking place. And the spending that is taking place is for non-essential items. Like one story that we are hearing is the price for cheese. They're buying cheese for refreshments and so on. But the price you're paying for a pound of cheese is what you could buy 12 pounds of cheese for, or a slab of cheese. It is this kind of recklessness, just one way of passing money on to their friends and their cronies. And, you know, it's a real messy situation. It is people wanting to squander before their departure to ensure that they cream off everything that they could get before they leave. But Eddie, permit me to use your program here to say to public servants, REOs and heads of budget agencies, you are the accounting officer. You are the financial administrators of your ministry. And you should have no minister who has not been a minister since the passage of the no confidence motion, and more so, who ceased to be a minister on the day of election. Their caretaker status as ministers cease on the day of election. We're all candidates. Everybody who contested this election on election day and until a declaration of the results, you are candidates. When an election result is declared and a president is sworn in, then that president can appoint ministers. And that's the way good governance and the rule of law and convention and practices go. So permanent secretaries and heads of budget agencies should sit up and they should put their pens in their pocket. And when they receive these political instructions, they should think again. But what you believe is the problem. A lot of these permanent secretaries and heads of budget agencies and REOs are politicians themselves who are afraid of what will happen to them with the new administration coming in. So some of it is being facilitated because of their own political concerns. But you see, if you are a professional, even under the face of political pressure, you're supposed to still act professionally. And everyone, because when we get in there, we will review the files. We will review these contracts. We will review everything. Yes, when we get into the various ministries, every minister will have to review what has transpired there January 2019 to June 2020. And we will have to determine what will be allowed and what will be disallowed, because illegality cannot stand and illegality should not be allowed to continue to go on unchecked. And people should not get away with this kind of mischief. So yes, all the lands that were awarded, all the contracts that were given out, some of them you didn't even have to work, but you got full payment. People have concerns and they have said to me that they are concerned about what has happened with the flooding at the Ministry of Finance. Well, the IFMIS system would be able to tell us the checks that are cut, the dates those checks that are cut, except that we have people who are tampering with the IFMIS system or people who have damaged the IFMIS system that you could get no information out of it. And if that has happened, whoever was responsible for that system and whoever was the head of that agency was responsible for that system will be held accountable. If when we go into ministries, you cannot find files and you can't find documents, documents in ministries are being stored by way of clerks in registries who have supervisors. They are permanent secretaries, they're administrative officers. Things just can't disappear because somebody wants to hide and cover their tracks. You do nothing, fear nothing. So public servants are called upon to act responsibly. You are an appointee as a result of your qualifications and your engagement through the Public Service Commission, and you've been properly set in place. You have nothing to worry about. If you allow political appointees to get you involved in doing things that are contrary to convention, contrary to good governance and the rule of law, well, then you are implicating yourself, and notice need to be given for all such persons, because it is clear we're going to have a new government. As a matter of fact, we should have already had a new government, but all those who were in doubt as it relates to the numbers and who won these elections since March 2nd, we had the long court cases and now the 34-day recount. No one could say they don't know who got the majority of votes. Mohamed Irfan Ali is going to be the next president of Guyana. The PPPC will be the next government. So if you want tomorrow when you go into office or tonight to take a call from your minister or some political type telling you to do something that is contrary to what should be done, you cannot say you did not know and you were taking instructions, because we are telling you tonight this ought not to be happening, and if all that happened today and the days before should cease forthwith, because we will not be saddled with this kind of a burden and this kind of a bureaucracy that is being set up by the Granger administration to strangulate the incoming government and to ensure we don't have a free hand in implementing our manifesto promises and bringing to the people the goods and services that they deserve in ensuring that we have a prosperous Guyana. So I thought I needed to say it that way.
Bishop, also you touched briefly on what happened at the Ministry of Finance. Could you say if there are reports of maybe documents being moved, files being cleared, and so forth in other agencies across the government?
Well, before March 2nd, documents were being moved. We were aware of that. Before March 2nd, documents were being moved. And there are people who could testify to that within the various ministries. Since March 2nd, other documents were being moved. Some were being moved in a very novel manner. And that one made me laugh, because when we saw pictures of a donkey cart, not a truck, not a pickup or a vehicle, but a donkey cart moving things out of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. You know, that was a novel way of hiding, like if you're getting rid of garbage, but you're hiding documents to move them away. You know, we have serious things that we have to deal with, because we have a government that is forcing themselves on the people since December 2018. They have done things that are illegal. They have done things that are unlawful. They have done things that are unconstitutional. They have done things that are unethical. They have done things that are unconventional, and they know it is exposed and it will be exposed further. And what they're seeking to do is, now that they realize the writing is on the wall, because there's nothing stopping the declaration of the winner of the March 2nd, 2020 elections. You declare an election based upon the results. We didn't get that done on March 5th or March 6th. We had a long process and then a recount. We now have all 10 districts certified. The chief elections officer have to take that information, tabulate it, and carry it to the commission and says, this is the declaration of the 10 districts, and this is the final number. The party with the largest number is the PPPC. The commission needs to discuss that, and the chairman after that vote will make a declaration, and a new government is in place. The writing is on the wall. And the removal of documents and hiding of contracts and trying to conceal the paper trail of illegal transactions and the spending of finances contrary to the Fiscal Management and Accountability Act, contrary to the Budget and the Appropriations Act, contrary to the financial laws that govern this country. People have been doing that. We are aware that they've been doing that. But the way government bureaucracy works, information is never resident in only one place. Information is never, ever resident in only one place. And we will get to the bottom of it, and we will bring to the public's notice the wrongdoings, the squandermania, the rape of the treasury, the illegalities, the unlawful actions, the unethical behavior of this APNU+AFC administration, while they held this country at ransom. They have really put this country through some difficult periods, and the people of Guyana are only too happy to get rid of them and get a government in place that will take Guyana into the next wave of prosperity.
Bishop, your closing comments as we wrap up this program.
Well, I'll want to say to all of Guyana, we have been on a long journey. All those who are praying and hoping that things will be different, take notice. The PPPC has won these elections. The faster you come to grips with that reality, it will help our country and save us from the political trauma that we were going through. Secondly, I want to say to all public servants, heads of budget agencies, you have nothing to fear with a PPPC administration. We governed this country for 23 years before we demitted office in May of 2015. Public servants had their security of tenure. They were able to receive their promotion. They were able to receive their scholarship for further studies and advancement. When they retired, they were able to get their pension, their gratuity, their benefits. We behaved responsibly then, and we are coming in now, and we will behave responsibly again. The political types, the political appointees, the political hacks that went into these ministries in their droves and suppressed the professionalism of the public service and made the public service incapacitated and handicapped because of political control. You should all do the decent thing and resign before the new government gets into office. And those of you who have acted presumptuously in seeking to get your employment contract renewed, and you have signed for the renewal of your contract to put the new incoming government in a difficult position of how to deal with you, I think you should go back to those parties that you have signed contracts with today and yesterday and last week, and you should destroy those contracts and save yourself the public embarrassment and save the country the fatigue of having to deal with such recklessness and lawlessness, because you know you ought not to be doing that. To all of the contractors who would want to say that I was only making the money and I was only doing what they asked me to do, I'm saying to you, come clean, because we will not allow the squandermania and the rape of the public purse to continue any longer. So I'm putting those groups of people on notice. And then I want to say to all Guyanese, the election is over. The declaration is imminent. Irfan Ali's swearing in as president is sooner than you can think. Let's end the propaganda. Let's end the misinformation. Let's end the racial incitement and the racial bantering on Facebook, under the social media. To all of us, the intellectual class, the academics, the opinion makers, people who form and shape opinion in society, let's take the blinders off and let us be real. Elections are over. It's time for us to unite our country. Our language needs to be different. Our language needs to be, let's build Guyana. We will not be a government that is just going after our predecessors. We will not be a government that will just act to spite the APNU+AFC. That's not our intention. Our intention is to get in there and put 30,000 people back to work. Our intention is to get in there and reopen the sugar estates. Our intention is to get in there and to make sure mining catapults to a new level of success. Our intention is to get in there and ensure the new and emerging sectors get a stimulus, that there will be an incentive that will cause them to grow and develop and be able to employ more people. We are going into government with an expectation of ensuring that our young people get employment. Our women, the vulnerable, are taken care of. We are going into government with an understanding that we have to repair our current infrastructure, and we have to be able to build new infrastructure. We have to get the new Demerara Harbor Bridge. We have to be able to get the Amalia Falls hydroelectricity program in place so that we could get cheaper electricity. We have to be able to build the new roads, the hinterland roads, so that our people could get access to new waves of development. We have to be able to link our people with markets internationally so that we could prosper. We are going into government to ensure the management of our oil and gas sector is done based upon best practices, international standards and norms, and that the monies from oil, they are used for the benefit of all the people of Guyana. We are going into government to serve. And that's what we will do when we get in there in the next coming days, to serve you, the people of Guyana. So have no fear. Those who have done wrong, and they have done so consciously and deliberately, they know that they have issues to deal with. But the masses of the people, and let me say particularly to the supporters of the APNU+AFC, I said it in Linden during the campaign. You have no fear with a PPPC government. You voted for the APNU+AFC and they did nothing for you. You voted for the PNC all those years and they did nothing for you. It was the PPPC, while in government, that took care of the interests of all Guyanese, including supporters of the PNC, APNU, AFC. Now that we are going back into office, Linden, Georgetown, New Amsterdam, wherever you live, Buxton, Agricola, the PPPC will serve you. You'll be treated like every other Guyanese, and you will benefit like every other Guyanese. So don't allow the types who are going around trying to tell you that the PPP rigged the election and that they shouldn't get into government, and they're trying to mobilize you to come out to protest and to create disturbances and to turn upon your neighbors and to create violence. Don't let those people set you up. They were there in government for years, or what they did for you? Nothing. They looked after themselves. You that are living in Parfait Harmony and in Diamond and on Non-Prel and Enterprise on the East Coast, where did you get your house lots from? The PPPC. The people of Sophia, may I remind you that before 1992, it was Desmond Hoyt who loosed dogs on the people of Sophia to get them off of the lands, because the intent was to build an upscale community for the elite Afro middle class in the Sophia area. It was the PPPC that gave the Sophia people the lands. I know you voted for the APNU AFC. I know you supported them. But don't let them use you as pawns in their game to create mayhem in this time. We give you your lands. We regularize your community. We built your roads. We give you your title. We give you electricity. We give you water in Sophia. When we get back into the government soon, we will take you into the next wave of development. We built your primary school in Sophia. We built your health center in Sophia. In Linden, we built Amelia's Ward. We built Block 22. We built you the new hospital. We built the multilateral school. We were the ones who rebuilt 1 Mile School. When we get back into government, we will continue to bring goods and services and benefits to all the people of Guyana. So don't let anybody come to you with a propaganda that the PPPC will look after their own and neglect you. So you got to ensure that they don't get in. They were in and they didn't take care of you. We won these elections and we commit to all the people of Guyana, we will take care of you. But don't let us allow the unscrupulous, delusional, deceptive group who have benefited themselves and their family and their cronies mislead you. Guyana is to all Guyanese, and the PPPC with President Irfan Ali will ensure that Guyana moves forward. So, Eddie, thank you for the opportunity of being able to share with the people of Guyana.
Thanks, Bishop, and thank you very much to our viewers for joining us this afternoon. Have a good rest of the afternoon.